Bonjour à toutes et bonjour à tous. Aujourd'hui, nous avons le plaisir de recevoir Larisa Hovannisian, qui est la créatrice, la fondatrice de Teach For Armenia depuis 2013. Donc, Larisa est entrepreneure sociale arméno-américaine. Elle lutte donc contre les inégalités en matière d'éducation en Arménie et un peu avant en Artsakh. Alors, Teach For Armenia, ainsi que Teach For Belgium et Teach For All, recrutent et enseignent à des teacher leaders, donc des enseignants inspirants, qui vont donc s'engager à donner cours à travers l'Arménie, notamment dans ce cas-ci, pendant un minima 2 ans. So, Larisa donc parle anglais, je vais traduire et me traduire déjà.
I actually understood that much.
Oh, super. So, you're welcome. Bonjour, Larisa.
Bonjour.
Can you tell us more about yourself and
Yes.
about Teach For Armenia?
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
We started over 10 years ago, and actually this year we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary of Teach For Armenia. Teach For Armenia is now a large foundation that has multiple programs that work at the classroom level, at the school level, at the government level, also in innovation. But the first program that the foundation started with was this teacher leader program that you just mentioned. And the whole idea was that if we want to reform the education system in Armenia so that it's more accessible and high quality to all children long term, we need to create a new pipeline of leaders who would first dedicate at least 2 years of their lives to working in an underserved public school in Armenia and in Artsakh. Primarily, these are rural village areas where they don't have teachers. And then after the 2 years, dedicate their careers as alumni to working to reform the system over a longer period of time. And so, we started with this program. It grew a lot. Just this program right now at the foundation is impacting over 30,000 children across our country. And our alumni are really the force behind a lot of the reform and a lot of the good things that are happening in the Armenian educational system today.
Donc Larisa nous explique qu'effectivement, ils ont commencé à un petit niveau, mais qu'actuellement, Teach For Armenia a pris une ampleur assez exceptionnelle, puisque Teach For Armenia connaît un succès assez répercutant, notamment via ses alumni, donc ses anciens, qui, grâce au travail de Teach For Armenia à la source, vont donc développer le projet un petit peu partout en Arménie. Et aujourd'hui, Teach For Armenia compte à peu près 30 000 étudiants à travers toute l'Arménie. So, Larisa, what is your goal? What is the next step for Teach For Armenia, and what is the next step for you?
So, we're looking back and we're thinking about the last 10 years and all of the things that we did right. And of course, we're also looking at the things that we could have done better. And as we plan the next decade of Teach For Armenia, we understand that we have to evolve and to really position the foundation to be a system reform organization within the education sector. If I was to put that in short, in the next 10 to 20 years, our foundation will be at the forefront of completely reimagining public education in Armenia and ultimately, I think, helping put Armenia on a completely different trajectory towards a stronger, more safer future for our country and especially our children. So I think we're really going to be the system reform organization that has all of these different programs that we already have and have been operating for the last 10 years. And hopefully see a day within our lifetimes where our educational system is truly the best for all of our kids, and it doesn't matter where they live or how much money their parents make. And then also, I think having Armenia become a country that the rest of the world can learn from when it comes to rethinking education, especially in this day and age. With technology and AI, I think the whole purpose of education and especially schools is changing very, very quickly. And so I think Armenia, because of its size and because of its other, I think advantages, can become a learning lab, a learning country for the rest of the world in terms of what great education can be.
Merci Larissa, je vais juste un tout petit peu traduire, comme ça nos auditeurs peuvent suivre. Donc Larissa nous expliquait qu'ils se sont retournés, donc ils ont un petit peu vu les points positifs et les points négatifs des 10 dernières années pour pouvoir se positionner et évoluer et surtout émettre des idées pour les 10 années à venir. Et le souhait donc de Teach For Armenia, et vraiment dans 10 ans, dans 20 ans, de se voir avoir réinventé un petit peu le système éducatif en Arménie et peut-être positionner aussi l'Arménie comme véritable exemple, peut-être même au niveau mondial, en ce qui concerne l'éducation en général. Et puis surtout, Larissa met un point en avant, c'est-à-dire que l'avancée technologique, les nouvelles AI et compagnie, dont je ne pourrais pas vous donner de détails, vont pousser peut-être l'Arménie à avoir un avantage très précieux qui est l'avantage de sa taille et peut-être aussi l'intelligence de sa population, ça je l'ai rajouté, et qui peut faire parvenir cette petite Arménie en fait un véritable laboratoire éducatif. Et Larissa mettait aussi le point, tout comme ici pour Teach for Belgium, sur la future non-existence, je ne sais plus comment le dire, des inégalités dues à la fois aux financiers et aux sociales qui peuvent toucher les enfants, le système éducatif en Arménie. Donc voilà, je pense que j'ai plus ou moins...
You did a great job.
Yeah, you're sure my translations are good?
Very good.
And besides that, Larissa, you made us the pleasure actually to come to visit us in Belgium. How can we help you here from Belgium? What can be the support of the Armenian community or the Belgian community or the international community that's usually very well represented here in Belgium? Alors Larissa, donc je lui demande, elle nous fait le plaisir de venir jusqu'ici, jusqu'en Belgique. Comment est-ce que nous, en tant que communauté arménienne, ou en tout cas en tant que communauté belge, ou encore en tant que communauté internationale assez bien représentée ici en Belgique, comment est-ce qu'on peut aider Teach for Armenia?
Thank you for the question, and it's really great to be here. We've been coming to Brussels actually for some years now, and we have a growing base of supporters and like-minded individuals who really understand what Teach for Armenia is about and what we're trying to accomplish in Armenia. We're very different to most other nonprofits. I think a lot of the work we do is long-term, and so it requires long-term belief and long-term support. We have short-term results, obviously. We send these teachers into these schools and they have incredible results with their students, and so that's definitely happening. But the bigger idea behind all of the work that we do and all the programs we have is fundamentally shifting systems and creating bright spots and creating collecting data and really trying to understand how do we change things from within the system, how do we make sustainable change happen. So it's not just short term, but it's also long term. And so, as we've been coming back to Belgium and to visit the Armenian community in Brussels, we've just been really embraced by people who share this vision with us, share these values with us, and have stood behind us and continue to do that, in different ways, whether it's supporting us to raise awareness about the problem that we're solving in Armenia and the various programs through which we do that with, funding our work, bringing opportunities through the European Union and other things also. So we're just very grateful. It's very difficult work, so having friends and supporters is very important. And having friends and supporters who understand that this isn't just like a short run, it's a very long marathon, has been a big privilege for us at Teach for Armenia. And so we will keep coming back. I think there's a lot to do here. There's a lot to learn between each other. As you mentioned, our partners here, Teach for Belgium, and it's an incredible organization. And all of us operate in different contexts and are, possibly solving a little bit of different problems depending on the country we're in. But how education is changed and reformed over time is very similar. Great teachers in Armenia and in Belgium and all over the world are very similar. Kids, students, right. They're all, they're pretty much the same. What motivates them, what demotivates them. So I think a lot of the learning and the solutions are also very shared. And so, on that level too, coming back to Belgium and working with our partners who are not just here, but also across the Europe region. By the way, we're part of a big global network called Teach For All. Mm-hmm. And Teach For All has, just in the Europe region, has over 20 partners. So, and Armenia is very proud to be one of those partners in the Europe region. And so there's a lot of work and learning that's happening between us. And it's important for us to have presence here.
You're heartily welcome. Donc Larisa nous expliquait qu'à la différence, donc ils ont une base, donc Teach for Armenia, une base grandissante de soutien, notamment ici en Belgique, que ce soutien est constitué d'individus, mais à la fois d'autres associations comme Teach for Belgium ou Teach for All, dont Teach for Armenia fait partie. Mais à la différence de beaucoup d'associations non lucratives ou de non-profit, Teach for Armenia comme Teach for Belgium mise essentiellement sur le long terme. Donc c'est assez compliqué pour un donateur ou pour un soutien de voir des résultats comme ça dans la journée ou dans la semaine, mais c'est un travail vraiment de très longue haleine et qu'on applaudit des deux mains parce qu'il faut y croire. Et justement, Larisa pointait le fait que ce sont des personnes qui y croient et les premiers résultats commencent à être visibles, notamment via le réseau désolé pour ma traduction, de professeurs inspirants qui est de plus en plus grand. Et puis aussi, Teach for Armenia prend le temps de récolter les données et les aspects positifs, négatifs qui vont les aider à avancer et à motiver beaucoup plus de monde pour l'évolution de Teach for Armenia. Ma traduction n'est peut-être pas parfaite, mais je pense qu'elle parle assez bien. Donc ici, en Belgique, c'est pas la première fois que Larisa se rend ici et elle est toujours très, très bien accueillie, à la fois par la communauté arménienne et par Teach for Belgium, avec qui il collabore intensément, si j'ai bien compris. Donc ici, en Belgique, vous êtes là pour faire connaître Teach for Armenia, également récolter des fonds disponible, j'espère, ici en Belgique et surtout au sein de l'Union européenne où normalement ça devrait être possible. Alors en plus, donc Teach for All, Larisa mettait l'accent sur le fait qu'effectivement Teach for Armenia fait partie des 20 partenaires européens de Teach for All qui chapeautent toutes ces organisations. My translation was a bit slower this time. I had to write a lot. Besides that, Larisa Jan, how can people contact you? How can they help you? I mean, individually and as organizations in communities, not especially in Belgium, but in Holland, in France, or whatever is closer to our network. How can people reach you, actually? And how can they, because it's a big deal in European Armenian communities, how can they be sure about what you're going to do with their fundings?
Yeah, that's a good
I'm
question.
sorry to ask you this, but so
I'm glad you're asking it because I think it's a good question to ask, and I'm glad that funders are now asking these questions because for a long time they were not, and I think that was probably used for not very good reasons, unfortunately. We go through an annual audit every year in Armenia, and we also have an organization in the United States that is also nonprofit, which also passes very strict financial reviews. Transparency has been very important to us from day one, and so even when we didn't have money for most things, we made money for audits with top 4 accounting companies, including Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and we're now working with Grant Thornton, which is a wonderful company, also international, and has reviewed and continues to review all of our finances. I think apart from just reviewing finances and making sure that they are, managed correctly, it's also important for funders to ask, what has been the return on my investment? So a lot of our reports are actually built with this in mind to show that we're not just, spending this money in a transparent way. We're also making sure that we're maximizing the investment that you're making into us and into this work for the best impact we can possibly have. And I think also what makes our work credible is some of the people who are behind this organization. We have an incredible board of directors one is based in Armenia, the other one is based in the United States. Sam Simonian and his wife Silva Simonian were the original seed funders of Teach For Armenia. They sit on our board. Sam is actually the chair of our board in Armenia, and we have really incredible people who are important and could have spent their time, on any other board, but have chosen to be part of our journey. And then we have incredible supporters, like specifically for Belgium, like Larisa Hovannisian and Armine Harayan and Larisa Hovannisian, who is based between Armenia and Belgium and has incredible initiatives that he does for the development of Armenia's rural communities. Also, some of his projects are at Sakhgung restaurant and the Gagarin project in Armenia. Anyway, I'm just explaining all this because it's really a community effort. Like there's such a network of people around us, and it's because of these people and the credibility that they also bring to the table by being part of our journey that hopefully others feel like this is the right thing to invest their time and money into. I think I'll stop there, but there's a lot of names to mention, and if people want to learn more, they can go on our website, teachforarmenia.org. We have a website in Armenian and in English. One day we'll add other languages in French. But all of our financials are there. All of our annual reports are there. You can see exactly who funds us and who's part of our work.
Et donc, merci Larisa. Je demandais à Larisa comment est-ce qu'on pouvait venir en aide à Teach For Armenia et pourquoi est-ce qu'on devrait venir en aide à Teach For Armenia. Donc Larisa m'expliquait, oui, parce que je lui demandais également comment rassurer en fait les donateurs par rapport à l'utilisation de leurs investissements. Et Larisa nous explique donc que sur ce sujet-là, elle avait bien conscience que dans les années précédentes, donc pas spécialement Teach For Armenia, mais bien d'autres organisations, la transparence n'était pas tout à fait de mise. Mais ici, avec Teach For Armenia, donc Teach For Armenia a un audit annuel tant en Arménie qu'aux États-Unis. La transparence est vraiment très, très importante. D'ailleurs, vous pouvez retrouver tous les rapports et les bilans sur le site web de Teach For Armenia. Maintenant, ce sont des grands noms de l'audit qui y travaillent. Donc, ce ne sont pas des petites sociétés perdues au fin fond d'un village en Arménie, mais bien Deloitte, etc. Beaucoup d'investisseurs peuvent se demander quel est leur retour. Alors, leur retour, il est bien simple. Ils peuvent maximiser un espoir, maximiser un futur, maximiser une éducation qui est essentielle pour un petit pays comme l'Arménie. I just added this, but I suppose you agree with me.
I totally do.
Et puis le futur de l'Arménie dépend essentiellement de cette éducation qui doit être accessible à tous les enfants et à tous les niveaux. Donc, je reviens à ce que Larisa m'expliquait, c'est qu'en fait, Teach For Armenia est originellement créé par Sam Simonian et Sylvie Simonian, qui sont donc les fondateurs initiaux de Teach For Armenia et qui siègent toujours au sein de l'organe administratif. Et effectivement, Sam Simonian et Sylvie Simonian peuvent être mondialement reconnus comme gage de transparence et d'honnêteté. Yeah. Donc, n'hésitez pas. Et puis ici, en Belgique, donc, le Teach For Armenia a déjà le soutien de la BACC via Valérie Safarian, le soutien de Armine Harayan, de Tigran Ranjarian, si je ne me suis pas trompée.
Racha Arajanian.
Ah, pardon, Racha Arajanian, que je ne connais pas, mais je le remercie du fond du cœur. Et donc,
And I'll just say, so Sam and Silva are the founders of TUMO, which I think by now everyone knows. And they gave us, they didn't found Teach for Armenia, but they helped me found Teach for Armenia.
Okay.
And they gave us our first seed fund, which meant that they enabled us to have 2 years of operations, basically. They gave us enough money to run the organization for 2 years and to launch it. And then they also gave us a little office space at Tumo.
Donc je m'excuse, je vais devoir corriger. Donc Sam et Sylvia Simonian ne sont pas donc les fondateurs initiaux de Teach for Armenia, mais sont bien les donateurs originaux pour Teach for Armenia et ont permis de faire pousser la première petite graine de Teach for Armenia et leur ont offert donc également un petit bureau au sein de Tumo. Et donc Sam et Sylvia Simonian sont les fondateurs de Tumo, un Tumo Center dont on vous parlera peut-être lors d'une autre émission, puisque nous avons un Tumo Center qui ouvre ici à Liège.
That's great.
Et on espère pouvoir interviewer les initiateurs dans pas longtemps. Donc Sam et Sylvia Simonian vous ont aidé déjà à survivre pendant 2 ans et vous avez continué cette belle aventure.
Until now.
Sur vos pieds, en fait.
Yes. And for Belgium specifically, we actually just partnered with the King Baudouin Foundation, which is a big philanthropic, I shouldn't explain this to anyone in Belgium, but it's an incredible platform for organizations like Teach for Armenia to partner with because they enable transparent financial donations basically to Teach for Armenia, being an Armenian organization. But because we're part of this platform, anyone who's in Belgium, and actually they have partnerships with every country in the EU and more. Anyone who wants to donate to Teach for Armenia can do that through this platform now, and it's managed very transparently, obviously, and a very high credibility organization, and we're very honored to be partnered with them at this point too.
And I think if you're part of King Baudouin Foundation also, there is a tax return for the donators, which is kind of interesting in here for them.
Yeah, so it's a platform that enables not just financial transparency, but also benefits to whoever donates.
Donc, à bon entendeur, salut. La fondation Teach for Armenia est donc partenaire avec la fondation Roi Baudouin, ce qui inclut donc une transparence assez énorme. Donc une très belle transparence et également la possibilité pour les donateurs d'être remboursés fiscalement. Donc allez voir Teach for Armenia. The website exactly is...
So we will have information on our website about
yours.
Yeah. So it's teachforarmenia.org. O-R-G.
Donc n'oubliez pas, allez voir www.teachforarmenia.org et vous aurez toutes les informations, notamment concernant les détails de possibilités de partenariat, de financement, de soutien. Et is it possible for someone outside Armenia to have this envy to come to teach in Armenia? Would you help them to be educated the way to
Yes,
to
we
teach?
actually recruit people from the diaspora too to teach for 2 years in Armenia. The one prerequisite is that they have to speak Eastern or Western Armenian because they teach in a Armenian public school and the primary language in the school obviously is Armenian. The Western Eastern dialect difference is not that big of a deal. It's very easily overcome within 6 months. And we've had very funny stories of students beginning in some faraway village in Armenia or in Artsakh, like learning how to speak Western Armenian and switching to Western Armenian because their teacher is Western Armenian. So there's a lot of stories like that. But, we've also had non-Armenians who have joined the program, who, like, we had a former teacher from Spain. Her boyfriend was Armenian. She learned Armenian fluently, and so we placed her to teach in a public school, and she was fantastic. That is more rare, and we would really like to find a way to bring more diasporans into our program because, unfortunately, it's about 10 to 15% of our cohort every year are from the diaspora. I think funding Teach for Armenia is one way to engage, but if you're young, just out of university and you really want to serve your homeland, you can do this program, and it really it's not just a nice thing to do for Armenia. It also really builds your leadership. It builds your resilience, and it's a globally recognized program that is prestigious if you get in, and if you do it, it's very selective. We only select about 10% of the people who apply. So it's a really great opportunity if you're, just out of university, trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose is in life. Yeah, go to Armenia and serve through this program.
Donc je demandais à Larisa si on pouvait de l'extérieur, donc de la diaspora, venir enseigner à Teach For Armenia. Et effectivement, d'ailleurs, c'est l'un des points importants. Ils aimeraient, donc Teach For Armenia aimerait avoir plus de participants professeurs de la diaspora. N'hésitez surtout pas à postuler via le site web, toujours. Et l'un des seuls et uniques prérequis, à part bien sûr avoir terminé ses études, c'est de parler l'arménien soit occidental, soit oriental. Donc ça ne change pas grand-chose, arménien ou oriental ou occidental, peu importe. D'ailleurs, Larisa nous racontait des petites anecdotes où effectivement des non-arméniens aussi peuvent participer. Ils doivent bien entendu apprendre l'arménien avant de venir. Ce n'est pas très compliqué, je n'ai que 46 ans et je n'ai toujours pas appris. Mais ça va venir, j'ai les bases. Et donc voilà, surtout, n'hésitez pas, si vous voulez vous investir, à contacter. Can we contact you directly? Or
Yeah, of course.
À contacter Larisa via la plateforme
Instagram
Teach For Armenia.
Or LinkedIn. I'm also personally available to answer messages.
Et même personnellement, donc elle vous répondra, il n'y a aucun souci. What would be, do you want to highlight something specifically? Or?
I guess just a more, philosophical thought, maybe if I could offer. I think Armenia obviously is going through a very difficult phase right now. We have been in the last 5 years. And as educators, we understand that a lot of Armenia's future really depends on the decisions we make now about how we want our public education system to be, what we want to prioritize, really trying to understand the problems that our system has, being open about accepting those problems so that we can devise a strategic plan of how we will overcome these challenges and how we will move forward. The good thing about Armenia is that I think if we make these very calculated strategic steps to understand the problem we're trying to solve, truly using data and analytics to plan our next steps, I think we can be in a very different place truly within the next decade. A lot of countries can't do that because of various reasons, and I think Armenia can. I mentioned some of these reasons. Our size, we're homogenous. There's a lot that's going in our favor, although it probably feels like it's not right now because of our external threats. And so I think those two realities are true. And I don't think we should forget about the positive reality that also does exist in Armenia, and to leverage this as much as we possibly can to double down on investment. A lot of people are worried about investing into Armenia right now because of the political instability and the geopolitical situation. I say these are exactly the moments when Armenia needs to be supported even more. I think obviously certain sectors are very important to consider, and then sectors like education are probably just as important because they're tied all together. It's a cycle, it's a chain, and if we don't see it as such, then I think we'll keep being in this situation.
Donc je demandais à Larisa ce qu'elle voudrait mettre en avant et donc Larisa nous explique qu'effectivement l'Arménie traverse une phase très compliquée depuis ces 5 dernières années et que la grande partie de l'histoire, c'est-à-dire la suite, dépend des décisions qui seront prises aujourd'hui, des décisions à la fois stratégiques, opérationnelles qui doivent absolument être prises aujourd'hui pour développer un futur positif et un futur possible, surtout pour les enfants. Et Larisa nous explique également que prenant avantage des données et des analyses qui sont à disposition, notamment de Teach For Armenia, mais également de tout le pays, prenant avantage également de la taille de l'Arménie et de son homogénéité, la possibilité de se projeter dans un avenir tout à fait à la fois créatif et source de développement pour la population est tout à fait possible et projetable sans beaucoup d'erreurs en fait. Également, Larisa mettait l'accent sur le fait que les investissements sont en diminution en Arménie, dans tous les secteurs, et qu'elle pense qu'effectivement, c'est le bon moment pour investir en Arménie. Et la perte de stabilité à la fois politique et territoriale, on va dire, n'est pas une très bonne raison pour cesser d'investir. Bien au contraire, c'est tout à fait le bon moment pour investir en Arménie et pour assurer un futur, surtout à l'Arménie, que vous soyez de la diaspora ou en Arménie. Am I right?
Yeah.
I think you understand French finally. Huh?
I do. Yes. And there are a lot of great nonprofits in Armenia that deserve that kind of support and are, despite the odds, are still there, still doing truly transformational kind of things, and they need to be supported because we have something really magical happening in the country at the same time. You have Tumo taking over the world.
Right.
In just the best way, and I think we're all so proud that that's an Armenian product, and it was born in Armenia, and it's now being shared across the world. And I think we are going to be doing a lot more of that. Teach For Armenia has projects that are also, I think, one day will be taken out of Armenia and used as an example, and hopefully scaled up and leveraged by other contexts in other countries. For example, we're building a new public school model called Serund, which we think will really revolutionize public education in Armenia, but could also serve as a codified model or like a blueprint for other countries about how they can have more innovative and actually completely reimagined public schools. So we have a lot to offer the world, and I think it's going to take a very significant mental shift within. I think the shift is happening very quickly in Armenia. I think that shift needs to happen probably more so within the diaspora to see Armenia as a source of motivation and as a source of creation, and not just as a source of feeling bad for what's happening.
A source of depression.
A source of depression, yes. I think it's important. And again, I just want to reiterate, that doesn't mean that we should neglect what's happening. Obviously, we all live in this reality, and we know that the stakes are very high. But I think both of those things can be acknowledging that the stakes are high and having so much faith about what's already happening in Armenia, and trying to figure out a way to scale that up and to accelerate it. Those two things can live together, and it's very important for people in the diaspora to approach the country with that mentality.
And especially this is a very big specialty of Armenians, actually.
Yes.
This crazy resilience.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is creating everything.
We're still here despite the odds, and I think we will be, forever. So,
Et je tape du bois.
Yes, but we just have to be smarter about our next steps.
Et donc Larisa nous expliquait qu'ils sont en train de mettre sur pied un nouveau modèle d'école publique, Serund, dont elle nous donnera, je pense, les détails. Do you want to give us the details about this public schools? Or?
Sure. A little, yeah, I can a little bit.
I will first translate the rest. And very shortly, donc que Larisa estime qu'effectivement il y a beaucoup d'associations en Arménie qui méritent d'être soutenues, qui font un travail formidable de développement à la fois du pays et de l'éducation. Et qu'ici en diaspora, on devrait voir et on devrait accepter que l'Arménie est une source de motivation et de création, et non pas juste une source de dépression, puisque des mouvements, des moteurs comme Larisa, en fait, sont en marche en Arménie et créent et produisent le futur de ce pays. Alors Larissa, tu vas nous parler un petit peu de ce nouveau modèle Serunt.
Sure.
Un modèle innovatif pour les écoles publiques que l'on espère bientôt exporter, peut-être pas tout de suite, mais en tout cas bientôt exporter tel que tu mots à travers le monde, pourquoi pas.
So the Sedund idea started about 5 years ago. It actually started during the pandemic, and then when we launched 2 weeks later, the war in Artsakh started. So it was not the best time to launch a new initiative like this, but we have the resilience, and I think to just go for it. So we did, and the original idea was essentially taking what Teach For Armenia was doing at the classroom level. So our teacher leader program is we send a teacher to the school, they work in a classroom, they end up working with the whole school, but they're one person and they're working as these incredible teachers, really shifting everything in the community and in the school. And so the Sedund idea came to us, and we said, what if we multiplied that? So instead of just one teacher, we actually send an alum to work with the whole school, with the principal, with the vice principal, with all of the teachers, and really put them through a practical 2-year training program to help them turn around their school. And most of these schools that we first started working with were not doing well. They had low student engagement, not a lot of students in the school. Parents were very unhappy with the school. Grades were, academics were low. So basically the government would ask us to consider working in these public schools that were not doing well and help them turn around within a couple of years. So the model was that we would take our TFA alumni, we would send them into these schools that were not doing well, and within 2 years, it was incredible. Like within a couple of years, like the same people who operated in a very specific way for 20, 30 years, were educated in the Soviet Union, knew nothing else, were able to transform so much so that their all of the indicators would grow. The literacy and numeracy rates grew. The engagement levels grew. The parent engagement levels grew. And so our hypothesis was that if you give the right kind of training to people, not just theoretical, but really practical, then they can have radically different results. And so that happened in one school, second school, third school. We've had many schools that have gone through this Sedund turnaround program. I'm explaining all this because it was because of that work in these last 5 years with Sedund that we're now exploring with the Ministry of Education how to leverage that knowledge to essentially create a new model for public schools.
Which would be based on?
Which would be basically meaning we would launch a school from scratch.
Okay.
So like from zero. Still following national curriculum, still very much like a public school, but with a completely reimagined approach to the learning design process, recruitment and development of teachers and educators, merit-based, like performance systems and all of that, right? It's like a holistic plan for how public schools can be run, from content to staff development to operations and budgets and all of these different things. We're actually getting ready to submit this application to the government in June. After Brussels, we'll go to London. We have a couple of schools that we've been partnering with and learning from. But we've been learning from very different schools from all over the world, schools in India, schools in the US, schools in Scandinavia, the UK. And although we're learning from these schools, we're ultimately designing an Armenian program, an Armenian school. And we're asking ourselves, how can we design a school that is truly created by us for our country? Because, until now, it's been from somewhere else, under this empire, the other empire. It's a moment for us to understand who we are and where we want to go.
We can even testify here from Belgium.
I know that was long.
No. I'm trying to follow you and to write. So, Serunt, en fait, est un projet qui a été lancé il y a à peu près 5 ans, juste un peu avant la pandémie et juste un peu avant la guerre du Karabakh. Ils l'ont quand même fait, donc Teach For Armenia a quand même lancé ce projet de Serunt. Serunt est donc une toute nouvelle vision de l'éducation publique, surtout en Arménie, une vision qui voudrait être développée ailleurs une fois qu'elle aura été acceptée par le gouvernement déjà en Arménie. Et ce qui est extraordinaire, c'est qu'en fait, Serunt a travaillé déjà avec plusieurs écoles publiques en envoyant des anciens de Teach For Armenia aider toute l'équipe pédagogique et donc pas donner simplement cours dans une école, mais aider toute l'équipe pédagogique, que ce soit la direction, l'équipe budgétaire, l'équipe pédagogique, en gros. Et en 2 ans, ils ont en 2 petites années, ce qui est quand même très, 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 très court pour avoir des résultats au niveau associatif, mais ils l'ont fait. Et les résultats donc le système en Arménie est très le système éducatif en tout cas en Arménie est très soviétisé, et donc c'est un système que l'on a hérité, j'imagine, du bon vieux soviet, et qui n'est peut-être pas tout à fait à jour, et donc les professeurs n'étaient pas également au niveau éducatif en tout cas très à jour. Teach For Armenia est allé les voir, les a aidés, les a entraînés, et ça a fait augmenter le taux de participation en classe, ça a fait augmenter le taux de présence, le taux de participation des parents à l'école, simplement. Et donc, suite à cela, Teach For Armenia est en train d'explorer un nouveau type d'école publique qu'elle va proposer dans pas longtemps, en juin, donc au gouvernement arménien. Alors c'est vraiment une approche qui part de zéro, à la fois le système de cotation, le système d'apprentissage, le contenu, le personnel, les budgets, en fait toute la scolarité est revue, mais en gardant le trajet que l'on vous demande au niveau de l'État arménien, notamment. Et donc, on peut imaginer ça, par exemple, au niveau de l'État belge. Voilà, on a le CEB à passer. Teach For Armenia, ou en tout cas, Serunt peut créer une école ici, en Belgique, mettre tout le contenu qu'on doit avoir pour la fin primaire, donc le CEB, et le revisiter à sa manière, de A à Z. Mais votre enfant passe le CEB sans aucun souci. C'est un peu le même système en Arménie, donc l'enfant passe toutes les matières qu'il est censé avoir passées au niveau de l'État pour passer en secondaire ou à l'université, peu importe, ce sont des niveaux différents. Donc en fait, Larisa, tu viens ici avec 2 magnifiques projets. Teach For Armenia et Serunt.
And others, but we don't have
many
time
others.
during this interview. We also have a master's program that we created for in teacher leadership. It was originally created for our teacher leaders, but it's now open to the system. Any teacher can do it. It's a collaboration between Teach For Armenia and Yerevan State University.
Ouais.
We also have a public policy lab for our alumni to work directly with the government on policy change and reform. So we have an incubator and innovation accelerator for people who are designing new startups, whether they're for-profit or non-profit, for the education sector in Armenia. So we're really we're an ecosystem at this point. And we also partner a lot with other organizations because we don't believe in recreating the wheel. We don't have time for that.
Right.
Armenia is in a very difficult situation and moment right now. We partner with different organizations who are really great at certain things, and we try to build out a chain between us so that we can accelerate our results and impact.
Et donc Larisa nous a expliqué qu'en fait ce ne sont pas les 2 seuls projets qu'elle pourrait nous présenter, mais bien d'autres, de nombreux autres. Alors aujourd'hui on va juste rester sur Teach For Armenia et Serunt, et remercier du fond du cœur Larisa pour tout son travail, pour tout le travail de toutes ces équipes, parce que ce n'est pas un travail qui est là pour elles uniquement ou pour les enfants d'aujourd'hui, mais pour les grands de demain, pour les adultes de demain. Et je pense qu'en tant qu'Arméniens, on a besoin d'être éduqués d'une certaine manière, d'être éduqués au rêve, d'être éduqués à la création, parce que c'est ça qui fait que la résilience est là et que nos chers bambins, parlant ou ne parlant pas, pourront reconstituer toujours et encore un plat pays, une éducation, un cursus. Et j'ai juste une dernière question pour toi, Larisa. Imaginons aujourd'hui, l'année prochaine, je veux créer une école ici en Belgique, avec le système Serund. Est-ce que tu penses que c'est envisageable? Est-ce que je pourrais inscrire mon enfant à une école Serund qui pourrait le préparer au CEB, mais également avoir des cours d'arménien, d'histoire, de philosophie arménienne?
Next year, no.
No.
My son is 4.5. He will start school at 6. So we've decided with our team that he will go to a Serund school in Armenia. So that's the first timeline priority. But I do think in the next 5 years, probably, we'll have enough of a tested model and a codified program plan that could be superimposed into I shouldn't even say superimposed, but could be leveraged as a model for other contexts. So give me a bit more time, but we will help you do this.
I will give you all the time. Donc Larisa disait qu'effectivement, peut-être pas tout de suite, mais dans les 5 prochaines années, il serait tout à fait possible de postposer le système Serund n'importe où en Europe, notamment ici en Belgique, à bon entendeur. Salut. Une idée qui trotte, je pense, dans beaucoup de têtes au sein de la communauté arménienne en Belgique depuis très longtemps et qui malheureusement n'a toujours pas vu le jour. Alors on a effectivement, I'm telling you about our problems now.
We'll change it.
Yeah, please come and help us, because we had already the privilege to have very nice ladies teaching. It's hard to follow them because you're just like, okay, it's just a kid.
Yeah.
Give him peace.
Yeah,
Anyway.
There needs to be a reimagined model. It's really not just in Armenia or in Belgium. It's all
everywhere
over the world, and we have to solve this problem together, and we will.
Because we see it also with our kids, actually. They really don't have the same focus and imagination.
Yeah, it's a different world. We're still operating under the Industrial Revolution school model. We're going through a different industrial revolution right now.
Especially boys who prefer their fathers.
I feel
me
you
too. So we will have a group for that to discuss about that too.
Sounds good.
Donc Larisa, en tout cas, un tout grand merci. Do you have any specific sentence that you would like to share?
Just a lot of gratitude. Thank you so much. We always feel so welcomed here in Belgium, and I'm very excited to meet more of the community in the next few days and to keep coming back and to keep building our movement, not just in Armenia, but a global movement for Armenian education all over the world. So thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Mais c'est nous qui te remercions. Et donc Larisa, le mot de la fin était qu'elle est très heureuse de venir ici, qu'elle est toujours très très bien accueillie, en tout cas par la communauté ici en Belgique, et qu'elle espère nous revoir dans pas longtemps, surtout sur ces modèles qui sont prêts à être développés un petit peu partout. C'est nous qui te remercions, Larisa, et surtout nous te remercions pour tout le travail que tu fais, que tes équipes font, ce travail qui devrait être soutenu, je pense, par toutes les communautés arméniennes. Un tout grand merci.
Merci beaucoup.